New lurid details emerging from a federal indictment against two prominent real estate brokers arrested now in Miami. Federal prosecutors say Tal and Oren Alexander ran a sex trafficking scheme along with their brother Alon that goes back more than 20 years to when they were in high school. According to court filings, the brothers would plot assaults well in advance, allegedly working with party promoters to find victims and pooling their resources to pay for the women's travel expenses.
The Alexander brothers' sex trafficking agreement went beyond the planned trips and events. On numerous occasions, one or more of the defendants drugged and raped or sexually assaulted women they encountered by chance at bars, at nightclubs, social events, and dating apps. These assaults allegedly had many of the same hallmarks as the rapes that occurred at group events: isolated locations, drugged victims, force, and physical restraint.
They've been charged with sexual battery and each face 15 years to life in prison. Attorneys for all three men confirmed that they had been arrested but had no additional comment. Civil rights attorney Areva Martin is joining us now. These allegations are unbelievably serious. Prosecutors allege that these brothers have been involved in sex trafficking, sexual assault of women since 2010. It's 2024. Before this, there were also civil lawsuits that were brought by numerous women against them. So why would it take so long for authorities to go ahead and charge them?
That's a billion-dollar question, Sarah. Why is it that we are 14 years later after some of the initial allegations and now just seeing criminal charges brought against all three of these brothers? It appears that women have been making reports about sexual assault and clearly making allegations in civil suits involving these brothers. We don't know what has transpired with respect to the investigation. Maybe women weren't comfortable coming forward, talking to law enforcement. We know that historically it's been very difficult for women to make these kinds of allegations against high-profile, wealthy men like these three brothers. But the good news in this case is that there is accountability, finally, because there are allegations, Sarah, that they were bragging about running, quote unquote, a train against women, even in their high school yearbook. So these are very serious and very heinous allegations made against these three men.
When you see these allegations and you see in the indictment that there were others sort of named, they're called others in the indictment, potentially involved, how likely is it that there might be more people indicted in this particular case?
I think the likelihood is great that we will see other indictments. As you said, there are allegations of party promoters, people identified as accomplices in the indictment. Clearly, this was a well-orchestrated, well-planned, thought-out attack against these women that involved more people than just the three brothers. So I would not be surprised. We know that the prosecutor said that the investigation is ongoing. They've asked other victims to come forward. So I suspect we're going to see a lot more women coming forward, telling their stories, and that there may be additional indictments against folks who had knowledge and participated in this sex trafficking scheme.
I want to get your take. There was an article in the New York Times in July on these allegations, and the real estate company, Douglas Elliman, acknowledged per the report that an incident had been raised casually and confidentially to a chief executive without specifying who may have been involved. But rather than in the form of an official HR complaint, a company spokesman went on to say this, quote, that they had any such complaints been received, those complaints would have been thoroughly investigated. What do you glean from the statement from the company that they once worked at, where there was something that was said to a CEO, but there was no official complaint with HR?
Well, what I take from that statement is an effort by this company to cover its tracks. Obviously, this has the potential of involving lots of individuals, including perhaps executives at that company, if not in terms of criminal charges, civil charges, because if someone is working for you and there's a complaint about their conduct, sexual misconduct, there could be liability, civil liability on the part of supervisors, executives, and owners of this company. So Clearly, anyone involved with these brothers at this point, we should expect to see them trying to shield themselves from civil liability as well as the potential of criminal accountability.
I can't help but look at this case when you see how it is written out, and have it remind you of another case that's been going on where you're talking about lavish parties where they're accused of drugging their alleged victims, raping them. It sounds disturbingly similar to the Sean Diddy Combs cases that have been brought. What do you see happening here on the timing of all of this?
I think the season, Sarah, is here and now for victims of sexual assault. And I mean, what I mean by season is the season to come forward, to demonstrate bravery and courage, to make these claims, to be heard, to be believed. I remember just a decade ago when women would make claims like this against powerful men, whether it was a powerful record executive like Sean Combs, or in this case, real estate executives. It was very difficult. Oftentimes the women would be maligned. They would be, not believed, and oftentimes prosecutors were reluctant to file charges against powerful men. Since the Me Too movement, we've seen a seismic shift in the way these cases are treated. We've seen more women willing to come forward to tell their stories, and we've seen more prosecutors willing to prosecute these cases, and we've seen convictions. So we've actually seen these cases tried in courts and convictions obtained by prosecutors. So I'm encouraged by this as a civil rights lawyer, someone who's done this work for decades, to see this moment where victims are being believed and where they are able to hold predators accountable, even if those predators are rich, if they're famous, and if they are typically thought of as being untouchable.
Areva Martin, it is always a pleasure to talk to you and talk through these important issues. Appreciate it.